And it's all for me grog, me jolly, jolly grog. It's all for me beer and tobacco. Well, I spent all me tin with the ladies drinking gin. Now across the Western Ocean I must wander. I'm sick in the head and I haven't been to bed since first I came ashore with me plunder. I seen centipedes and snakes and me head is full of aches.
Since the early 1990s, new momentum has been building around the world to counter the dangers of tobacco smoke. Cities and states in the US and Canada were first to bring in laws to deal with passive smoking. As the first country to adopt such measures, Ireland's nationwide smoking ban has been another important chapter in the tobacco story.
Oh, where are me boots, me noggin boots? They're all sold for beer and tobacco. Well, the heels they are worn out. And the
air is a lot cleaner, your clothes are a lot cleaner, your lungs are a lot cleaner, basically.
To me it was a no-brainer to tackle tobacco and to bring in very strong measures across a range of areas.
I think it's great. I'm a smoker myself, but I think it's great as regards the health of the customers and the workers as well. And I hope everyone else catches on to it.
I mean, people I meet who work in hotels serving meals and so on tell me that I've transformed their lives. And the same in terms of bar workers.
By law, bars, restaurants and other workplaces must now be smoke-free. Why? Because second-hand smoke causes serious and fatal diseases. So even if you're not working, remember I am, and he is too.
The coalition of government, unions and health campaigners which helped bring about Ireland's indoor smoking ban soon felt justified by the results. In a short space of time, significant improvements in indoor air quality were achieved, along with high rates of public support and compliance with the law.
But most smokers don't want to smoke, or they want to smoke less. So the ban is actually encouraging them to do this, and so they support it, surprisingly.
The pub that I usually drink in is an ordinary working class inner city Dublin pub, where I'd say at least half, if not more, of the people there are smokers. But there's been no resistance to this, and I've never seen any resistance to it, because people accept that this is an important public health measure.
We've been inundated in ASH and in other advocacy groups by media from all over the world who are marvelling at the fact that we did this.
I understand from the Department of Health and Children that they've had endless visitations of people from departments of health in other countries coming to talk to them about how the whole thing was set up.
An awful lot of people thought, oh yeah, they may well bring in a law, but nobody will obey it. But the fact that the Irish people are so compliant with this legislation is startling to many people.
Ladies and gentlemen, when we know that in an Irish pub a smoking ban can really work, then we know that anything is possible.
A cultural shift which many people considered impossible has taken place in Ireland. Within 6 months of the ban being introduced, public attitudes to cigarette smoking changed dramatically. Most smokers supported the move. The indoor smoking ban made people more aware of the harmfulness of tobacco smoke.
I think one of the beauties of the smoking ban is that it does denormalise when it's normal to smoke. I mean, people are saying when they go to other countries now and somebody lights up beside them in a restaurant, they're absolutely horrified because it's now, for us in Ireland, not normal.
And I think people accept that this is a legitimate public health measure. And I think if you went into a Dublin pub today and lit a cigarette, it'd be more likely that other customers would take you to task rather than the publican or the environmental health officer.
While the smoking ban proved a great success, much of Ireland's anti-tobacco strategy was still incomplete. 2 years after its introduction, the Irish cigarette manufacturers continued with the legal challenges to sections of the 2002 Tobacco Act. This proposed a ban on all point-of-sale displays, cigarette vending machines and packets of 10 cigarettes, as well as the creation of a register of all tobacco retailers.
We do not, as Gallagher, believe that the scientific evidence, when considered as a whole, demonstrates that tobacco smoke causes lung cancer, heart disease or any other disease in non-smokers.
The tobacco industry and its allies seem determined to try to undermine public health policy in the area of tobacco control.
We accept that smoking is one of the risk factors for certain diseases, including lung cancer and heart disease. But the existence of a statistical association does not mean that smoking causes these diseases.
Unlike a lot of diseases, you have to deal with not just the disease, but the people who are causing the disease, who are in the industry.
To my knowledge, it has not been proved anywhere in the world that smoking has actually caused cancer. That is a slightly different issue. But
saying that it's not true, it doesn't cause this, there's doubt about it, we have research that contradicts it. So the arguments get very difficult.
The tobacco industry has been unfettered from any form of true regulation until recently. That is, what is in the product, okay? What is the deliveries? What does the tar do? What does the nicotine do? They haven't been required to do that until recently. If you haven't read the Frank Statement, which is a statement that was made in 1954 by the industry in conjunction with lawyers and the Hill and Knowlton PR agency, basically said they would first and foremost put public health and safety above profits, economic gain. I mean, it's a long statement. They put it in newspapers, they put it on TV, said that first and foremost is people's health. And then you look back and you measure them against their own words. And it was a fraud. They misled the public.
As part of his work to raise awareness about tobacco and health, Jeffrey Wigand was in Ireland to launch a book about Ireland's smoke-free initiatives. He also spoke about his experiences as Chief Medical Officer in the American tobacco industry, where he worked on a project to develop a safer cigarette.
Actually, I have to say it's a pleasure being here. Ireland has really set itself apart in what it's done.
I don't think it's any secret that I worked for the world's second largest tobacco company for the better part of 4.5 years, that I was able to use my experience in the medical field and my experience with the regulatory bodies like the Food and Drug Administration to make a safer cigarette. Well, 4.5 years working.
Despite a staff of 240 scientists and a yearly budget of $30 million, Dr. Wigand soon found his work obstructed by company lawyers. They opposed any research that might leave the company open to lawsuit.
How they operated inside. When I left the company, I watched them lie under oath. I mean, to watch my boss put his hand up in front of Congress and say that nicotine wasn't addictive and smoking was no more dangerous than eating Twinkies. I mean, as that indelible image replayed itself in my mind, I mean, I realized that by my silence, I'd be just as guilty as he is of lying, of creating harm, and I decided to go public. And that was with the...
Jeffrey Wigand became the highest-ranking tobacco executive ever to go public to reveal detailed knowledge on the industry's research. Before his revelations, American tobacco companies had never lost a personal injury claim.
That they clearly knew nicotine was addictive, and that they operationalized with chemicals the addictive quality of cigarettes. So it was an elegant drug delivery device. They destroyed documents or hid documents. Continued use of additives that were known to create incremental harm, but because of taking them out would create less profit, that they were allowed to continue being used. So I saw that. So disregard for public health and safety.
More people die each year from smoking-related diseases than from car accidents, AIDS, alcohol abuse, illegal drugs, homicides, suicides and fires combined. Yet people continue to smoke, and a product that kills or seriously injures is still freely available to the public.
But we reject the fact that people are addicted to smoking and cannot stop smoking because they can.
The evidence that I've received is that it is more addictive than heroin. It's a very addictive substance.
First of all, you have to understand that tobacco contains nicotine, and nicotine is an addictive substance. Nicotine goes from a cigarette to the brain in about 6 seconds. That's how fast it gets there. I can't put a needle in your arm and do it that fast. The industry manipulates that nicotine with chemicals and additives, some 599 chemicals, such as licorice or honey or sugar or chocolate or cocoa or ammonia.
We are certainly not admitting that smoking is addictive because we believe, and I think I explained in my answer, that because people can and do give up, it isn't addictive. But
I think that's nonsense, basically. I mean, it is addictive. Just ask any smoker. Just ask a smoker, what was it like to give it up? And they'll tell you how addictive it is.
There is nothing which stops a smoker in Ireland from making the choice to either smoke on the one hand or to give up smoking should that smoker no longer enjoy our product.
I mean, this is also an industry that deals primarily with youth addiction. It's a pediatric disease. It's not a disease that starts when somebody makes an intelligent choice or responsible decision as an adult.
You know, in this country, for instance, about 7,000 people die from smoking every year. Now, that means they've got to get 7,000 teenagers to replace them.
We're going to talk about why the tobacco industry really needs you guys. Not me, not your teachers, but how they go after children as young as 8.
About 182 days a year I spend in classrooms with 4th, 5th, 6th graders around the world, providing them some of this knowledge to make better, more informed, critical decisions.
Light butter, light cheese, light foods. Light means what to us? Less calories, less fat, healthier, right? What kind of packages does light cigarettes come in? White, right? And gold writing, what's that message? White means what? Pure, clean, right? Are they cleaner? No.
Sometimes I take them through the documents that are in the industry. You know, we don't smoke this shit, quote. We reserve it for the dumb, the black, the young, and the poor. I mean, that's an RJR statement. If they have lips, we want them, okay? If we can hook them young, we hook them for life. And let them understand that the industry is targeting them because as youth, they're sometimes gullible. If you show them that they are being manipulated, they kind of get that message real quick. Show them what's in a cigarette. Without using intimidation tactics.
I think that's the kind of message that they do respond to, rather than this health thing about 30 years later. If they could accept and understand how they're being manipulated, then I think that'll be the strongest weapon for kids.
Hi, I'm Nika. Welcome to my crib.
You've got to decouple the sexy image from smoking, because a lot of teenage thing is about sex, and that's where they sell it. They sell it through sex. And we got to try and counter-advertise and get in there and say, it doesn't make you sexy.
This is where I get fit.
All the young ladies. You can't get enough of me.
You're not leaving already, are you? Come back for more. Anytime.
Well, historically, the tobacco industry always targeted young people. I mean, that's the view, that if you can get people at 12 smoking, you have them for life.
Everybody smoked when they were young. I smoked Woodbines myself when I was maybe 10 or 12.
You smoked what?
I smoked Woodbines.
Woodbines?
Yeah, Woodbines. They were
perhaps the heaviest?
Yeah, they were strong cigarette, but just for a bit of fun, like, you know.
I'm smoking since I was about, I'd say 9.
I smoked as a child, and most people did. And when I was young, cigarettes from America were magic, and they were long and menthol, and they were advertised, and they were Edith Piaf, and they were Marlene Dietrich, and so on. So the glamour was there. So I understand this image thing.
The whole glamorization of cigarettes, which is something people of my generation were exposed to as well in movies. All the smart guys smoked.
You never saw James Cagney without a cigarette. All the Brando, everybody had a cigarette. You were encouraged on the screen to smoke, blow smoke everywhere. We didn't know anything different. Maybe today is
everywhere.
Everywhere. It wasn't cool. You couldn't meet a girl.
So if you wanted to be hip, you smoked. If the unhip guys didn't smoke. So we were subjected to all of that propaganda.
So round, so firm, so fully packed, so free and easy on the draw. So for your own real deep down smoking enjoyment.
Maybe if I had my life over again, I would maybe possibly wish I had never put a cigarette in my mouth. With the morning cough, all the side effects or whatever. But that's neither here. What's done is done. Cannot be undone.
Education alone is not a very potent weapon in this because it's an addiction. As well as educating and telling them and encouraging them, you must do something to help them to stop smoking.
And I run a clinical program at a medical school, which we actually do what's called best practices, the best of the best. And we have people that come in and we treat them with nicotine replacement therapy. We use a spray. We use what we call an antidepressant because nicotine etches on the brain little receptors that never go away.
Nicotine replacement is the proven help. It doubles the quit rate. Now, when it's coupled with psychological support, you can get that doubled again. But it is very hard.
In those best of best situations, we get 52% success rate. Is that pretty good odds? Would you like me to take out your appendix and 50% of the time it's successful, 50% of the time it's not? Oh, well, so what's the best way to stop? What's the best way to stop smoking? Never what? Never start.
As people struggle to give up cigarettes and countries attempt to bring in laws to make smoking less normal, efforts are also afoot internationally to tackle the global addiction.
Globally, tobacco is destined to increase tobacco sales. The tobacco industry has more or less decided that the West is lost, and they're concentrating on making the poor of the world poorer by putting their cigarettes there.
You know, as Ireland gave up 16% of its tobacco sales in the last year, then the industry doesn't want to lose 16%. So where are they going to get it? They're going to have to go someplace else to get it. We also need to think about the other people in the world that are not as fortunate as we are. And they're now more at risk because they've got lower regulatory barriers, they're easy to penetrate, and they have lower socioeconomic status, which goes back to that RGR statement, you know, the poor, okay, because they're easy to trick and dupe. So we need to do things that will help folks in Asia and Africa.
Today, more than 84% of the people in the world who smoke live in Asia, Africa and South America. That figure continues to grow, and health campaigners argue that without intervention to prevent tobacco advertising and raise awareness about the dangers of smoking, another generation of people will become addicted. According to the World Health Organization, the death toll from tobacco-related diseases could reach 10 million people per year by 2020. Tobacco addiction has now become a top concern for the WHO.
WHO, World Health Organization, has what we call the Framework Convention for Tobacco Control, FCTC, which is asking 192 nations to sign on to the same thing basically what the EU is doing, and treating tobacco and tobacco issues as a health issue on a worldwide basis.
The Framework Convention on Tobacco Control is the WHO's global response to the tobacco epidemic. It has become the most widely embraced treaty in the history of the United Nations and became international law in 2005. Already, countries representing over 3/4 of the world's population have signed on. As the world's first public health treaty, the FCTC sets a precedent for putting people's health above financial interest. The treaty signals an historic change in global tobacco policy.
So there is nobody to lose on this except the multinationals. And the sooner we realise that, the better.
The industry knows that price is a very high sensitivity characteristic for selling cigarettes to children. The lower the price, the easier the access. And so if you can smuggle it, it means you avoid the tax. And that tax then can be used for other things. Canada is dealing with that very extensively. The European Union is dealing with it. Hong Kong is dealing with it.
Changing times and changing attitudes may slowly change old habits. Increasingly, critics of tobacco are questioning the very existence of an industry whose profits are generated from selling such a controversial product. One of the largest US tobacco companies is being prosecuted under legislation originally designed to deal with mafia fraud. It seems certain that the actions of governments and the international community will force great changes upon the tobacco companies. The question is, how will they respond to these changes? The new millennium has seen a hardening of attitudes and stronger resolve towards tobacco control. Smoking around children has now become a live issue. In 2002, US Judge William Chinnock barred parents from smoking in the car with their child present, comparing it to a form of child abuse. Maybe humanity is finally rolling back its addiction to tobacco, a habit that began to spread across the world 500 years ago from South America. Native Americans had smoked dried tobacco leaves, mainly in religious ceremonies. The European colonists adopted the practice and promoted tobacco as a miracle substance of great medicinal powers, though some did note how smoking tended to become a regular habit. In England, this strange practice began to become fashionable when pirateer and courtier Walter Raleigh introduced it to the court of Queen Elizabeth. Her successor, King James I, famously tried to ban it. But tobacco continued its advance. Like the other European addictions, tea, coffee and sugar, demand grew and tobacco was soon part of a highly profitable global trade. With industrially manufactured cigarettes, the modern tobacco industry was born. As a result of advertising, smoking expanded further to gradually reach epidemic levels. Although the links of smoking to cancer have been known since the 1950s, it was really only in the late 1990s that the real momentum of change began to build. Change has been a slow process, yet if smoking can stop almost overnight in the pubs of Ireland, who can tell what changes lie ahead?
Oh, it's all right on the inside.